Hi guys. So after studying about the 7 excellent trees that God has planted in the wilderness, I want to point out that if you associate with a certain tree, one tree is no better than another. God thinks they're all excellent. They're all planted together because they create a beautiful forest. Okay, and each tree is a person in a certain stage or a certain use, and you might be one tree your entire life, or you might be multiple trees depending on what season of life you're in. But the whole point is you're supposed to be obedient to Christ in that season until God switches whatever that season is for you. So although it's quite uncomfortable for me, I thought it might be helpful to record a little testimony of different things in my life where I could say, this tree here, I could associate with that in this season, and this is why. Now, I've been a Christian for 44 years. Everything I'm going to tell you is not from pride or from anything except for I feel like it might help people to define, oh, okay, that connects humanity to these elements in the tree, okay? And I'm actually quite uncomfortable sharing my personal story. I've learned to really like privacy, and I think, God has his sense of humor where he's like, you should be on YouTube. But whatever. So obediently, here I am sharing my personal life. When I was young and growing up as a Christian kid in a Christian home and learning the disciplines of the faith, I can most associate with the myrtle. Quick growing, bubbling over with joyful flowers, sharing the gospel with any and everyone. All of my friends, dragging them off to church with me, no matter what their family's religion of origin was. When I was traveling and singing in Christian music, sharing the Lord's message with many across the nation, and then later helping lead 5 services of worship in the church, in those years I most closely associated with the Cypress. I needed that team. The team of people to stand side by side like cypresses to help keep me strong and focused mostly on worship, which helped me stay pure. Without that, I might have easily been sucked into keeping my mind on the troubles of this world like my friends. When I was sharing Christ at colleges with my great uncle's ministry of Campus Crusade for Christ, don't kill me on theology, I'm not 100% in agreement there, and leading Bible studies or calling door to door in youth groups, and teaching Sunday school and kids camps and all of this very busy social stage of life, I was sharing the gospel quite a lot. And I was planting a lot of seeds I can associate most with the elm in this season. In the parenting and homeschooling years in various cities, I not only cared for my family and wrote curriculum for my kids, but I also taught classes to moms and tried to help shepherd them. In this season, I was heavily writing for publication and kept integrating the Bible into everything. Looking back, it was a time I could easily associate with a noble tree, sharing, pointing people upwards. One year that turned into several years, I had a migraine every single day. In this same time period, I had 4 young ones, ages 1 to 9, and my husband was in a different state. He had to leave for a new job. This was the first time I had to really grow up and give up all my control and lay everything at God's feet. For several months of this time, I had to do everything that a normal person would do, but everything was everyday pain because every step would shatter my head. For several months during this time, I had to do everything through pain. There was no way I could redo the yard, which was a reality that had to be done, and at that point, with both of us living in different states, we could not hire to have it done. Watering the yard at that particular house, we had to drag heavy hoses that in 110 Texas summer heat. I had to mow the yard, which I felt was a man's task. I had to take care of the kids, feed them the 3 meals a day, and keep them entertained while keeping the house perfect for showings. It was my first round with this concept of single parenting. Although we were fine with our marriage, just the distance that we were apart plopped me into someone else's reality. In this time, to make it through all of that with this chronic migraine, I could only submit to the Lord and say, please show me how to do this. I learned to act nice and work hard through the pain. Even if I was a lump of exhaustion by the end of the day, it didn't matter because I chose to have faith, work hard, and persevere. I quoted scripture to make myself make it through the day. I only listened to Christian music when I would come in and take a break. I gave my kids my best regardless. I chose to share my best with them. I did not know it then, but I was causing all that fruit that God had planted in me, all those fruits of the Spirit that I thought I actually had. They had to come to life, because when you're put to the test, that's when you actually know if you're going to bear fruit. And if you can bear fruit in a miserable state under intense pressure, like I did, then you can say you're fruit bearing. So for this season, I could associate with the olive tree. Like an olive tree, reaching the fruiting years was actually 7 years into our journey. We had left our very healthy church in California 7 years prior, and our entire system of family and friend support. It's the 7 years before started our journey of 11 moves in 28 years. Now, much like an olive tree, I felt like my limbs were being beaten to see the mature fruit drop. Like I was physically in pain, but I was fruiting. Now, when in the desert years, we did not find a church on track around us in one of our moves. And after this, I learned to be a cypress. I learned the tranquility of isolation, allowed myself to dig deep into the new gift of time that allowed for deeper roots than I even knew were possible. It allowed for time for me to write curriculum in those years, that God would wake me with words to add to my projects and curriculums. It was a whole different level of obedience, understanding, and depth with the Lord. In those years, I studied my Bible deeper than I even knew possible, and this was like 10 years after Bible college. I had to struggle with my theology because the churches around us were all in different camps than I was, and I had to dig for myself to see what the Bible said, not a professor or pastor's opinion. In this time, I had also many severe physical afflictions. I have a mitochondrial disease that at the time no one knew about. It causes many symptoms, some of which are paralysis that are temporary. In this time period is when I had 6 near-death experiences, and I even died and went to heaven and talked to God and came back. I also had a chain of events occur in which I stood up for a non-saved person, stating that if we cannot love the sinner and reach out to help them, then what is the entire point of Christianity? That ripped my ministry out from under me. Most of my friends left me. My family of origin became insanely dramatic. I chose to hold my ground. I will still rescue one non-believer over siding with Pharisees and Sadducees that do not have the heart of Christ, which is to save as many as will accept him, and fully forgive them if they cross over to become Christians. Through all of this, I was happy and joyful because I had the Lion of Judah resting upon my limbs. He was the only thing that carried me through. This was the season of the acacia, afflicted, alone, tears for those not saved, and all the while strong wood, firmly digging my roots deeper and deeper as needed to find the water of the word and allow Christ to rest upon me, filled with joy. The joy of obedience, the joy of learning the word, the joy of the nearness to Christ. I could only ever hope to be a cedar. A cedar reminds me of people like pastors who have drawn thousands to the Lord and counseled and shepherded hundreds, and that does not seem to be where the Lord has ever placed me, which is fine. I only wish to be the piece of pottery or the turned wood that he sees in me, and I will gladly do whatever and go wherever he calls, no matter how humble or no matter how high. So, as for yourself, remember this: in any stage of your life, you're only requested to do certain things. Trust God and lead, and only allow each season to be what it is, and find the positive. Do not wish for a different season. Just settle in and give everything to God, and watch him shape you. Be obedient in those things, and do not try to overdo or wish that you were in a different stage. Don't wish you were a different tree. That's the entire goal. Be content where God has you. However, don't be lazy. If he wants to use you and change you, be flexible, like the myrtle. To obey God is better than sacrifice. The trick is dialing in and knowing what you are called to do at any given time. That takes much reading of the Word and deep, earnest, sincere, consistent prayer. Not only for yourself, but for those around you, and circling out until you are praying for the entire world specifically. The goal is to have the heart and the hands and the feet of Christ and use them to serve those around you. I really hope that has helped you a little bit to maybe figure out which tree you might be like. Here are some verses that I think might be helpful if you do associate with a certain tree. These verses might be helpful to you, or you might associate with them. Maybe there's something that you could memorize. I don't know. So I hope you have a great day, and I hope that the Lord works with this message to help you.